Hi there, welcome to another project tutorial. And in this project, we are going to build something special. Okay, so recently I created a dashboard for personal expense tracker, right? So if you remember, this is what we created. And in this project, we are going to transform this into this, right? We are going to transform it into this. Okay, so this is hosted on Netlify, right? And with our backend on render. Okay, so this is what we are going to build. Let me give you an overview. Okay, so I will log out and try it again. So I'll log in. Now you can create an account if you don't have an account, right? I mean, validations are working perfectly. Okay, so since I have an account, I will log in. And click on okay. So I think this spelling mistake here. I'll change it. Okay, so when you sign in, you see you meet this dashboard that we created, right? Okay, and you have your total balance, right? Overall total balance. You have your total income as well as the expense, right? And there is a chart showing the transactions over a year period, right? From January to December, as well as a summary for the income and expense. So the blue one is the income and the yellow is the expense, which is the same as these values here. Okay, and you also see the last transactions you made here, as well as the accounts you have, right? Great. So if I go to transactions, so you see your transactions here, you can filter with date, right? So if I click on this date, a filter, and there is no record for such date. Now, if you check one thing carefully, you can see that this date is 5th May. So this date cannot go below 5th May, right? It cannot go to 4th, meaning the date here cannot be lower than this, and the date here cannot also be higher than this, right? Because this is 16th, this one cannot also be more than 16th, right? It cannot go to 17th. You understand? Great. You can also search a particular transaction. So if I search for, you see that it's here, great. Okay, so here you can make add payment, right? So you need to select the account. From which account are you adding the transaction, right? So I'll just put here YouTube, okay, and I put an amount, right? Then confirm, then it goes through. So you see it's here, great, right? We can also export it. So export this list into an Excel file. So you click on here and it has been downloaded, right? So you can open this in your Excel. So you see it's here, great. Okay, so what again? Okay, you can also go to the various accounts, right? So you can create accounts. So I have created 3 accounts. So you just click on add account. Now I made it static, so there are only 4 accounts you can create: cash, crypto, paper, and debit or card, right? And I have added 3 already. So if I try to add cash again, right, you see that I get an info that cash, this account already been activated, right? So I can't create it again. Okay, so if I click on debit, meaning now I can create that, and an account has been generated for me. I can also put in an account number I want, right? Great. So then I can put in the initial amount. So let's put 100 and create an account. Then it has been added here, right? Okay, so I can also top up or add cash, right? So let me add 500. So I click, and now it has been increased. I can also transfer money. So let me transfer from PayPal to here, right? Okay, so I click on, you see there is a dot here, right? there is okay, so you see this dot here, I click on it, transfer money, right? I'm transferring from PayPal to which account to I want to put it into crypto. Yes, okay. How much am I transferring? Let me put 1,000, right? Great. And I just click on it, and you see now what is it? Yes, so now you see crypto has been increased and this has been decreased, right? Great. And if I go to transactions, I should see that you see there was a transfer from PayPal to crypto, right? And I received from PayPal to crypto, right? Okay, great. So that's how you do it. You can create an account or add. Okay, then you can also go to settings here. In settings here, you can, change your name, right? Yes, but you can change the email, right? You can add your contact, and you can also add country, right? So the country you select determines which currency you use, right? So I am using Ghana. So you see that if I go to the accounts, you can see that the monies are in Ghanaian city here, right? So if I change this, right, I can change this to, let's say I change this to Nigerian Naira, sorry, Algerian. You see that this one has also changed, right? Okay, great. And you can, then you just have to click on save, as well as you can also change your password here, right? I don't want to change my password. Okay, great. So then you click here to log out, right? Great. Now the app also has dark theme, right? So just click on this, then you have a dark theme here, right? Great. Great. So when it comes to this list here, you can even view the transaction, right? So you can click to view here. You click to view, and you view the details, right? So whether it was successful, you see this, and you see the details as well as the date and time and the amount. If it's plus, means that it was an income. If it's minus, right? And so let me look for one. So if you see minus, means it was what? An expense, right? Great. So these are the couple of things, and this is so the status here, whether it was rejected or true, right? Great. Now the app is also fully responsive. So if I go to mobile, right? Great. So you have it here like this, right? Great. Great. Everything works perfectly. You can click here, go to dashboard, and you can see that it's fully responsive. If you go here, you come to account, it is here, right? Great. You go here and you come to settings, also responsive, right? You can click here to go home. Great. So basically, this is what we are going to do, right? Okay, so don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the project. Okay, so let's continue. So in this, we are going to set up our project, and we'll be using Vite to create the app, right? Vite. Okay, so if you haven't watched the first part where we created the dashboard, we use Vite. So we use Vite, right? Instead of the normal create React app, you can also use the normal create React app. Okay, so we use Vite, right? And if you go to the installation, the command is just simple. So we can just copy this, right? And we will also use Tailwind CSS. So just go to Tailwind CSS, right? Click on search and search for Vite, right? Search for Vite. Search for Vite, and just so install Tailwind CSS with Vite, right? And we'll use now in this we'll use Postgres, right? Postgres database. That's what we're gonna use, and we'll use this PG, node Postgres, right, to connect to our database, right? And the command is just simple like this, right? Okay, so this is what we use, right? There are various ways you can connect, whether to use the client or the pool. So we'll use the pg.pool. We'll use that method to connect. Okay. And you need to download this PG admin so you can connect to your database, right? Great, and perform the operations like create the tables. Okay, and we'll create the database from render here, right? Render here. That's where we'll create our Postgres database. You can use any platform you have, and we use Zostan to manage our state, right? Okay, so in this, we're gonna start from the back end, right? Okay, so first let's create the database. So log into your render account and click on new, right? And select Postgres, right? So we need to give a name. So I will say Spence, let me say pen, okay, let me just say Spence tracker. Okay, so I'll just say expense tracker. The database name, maybe it should also be the same. Okay, then let me change this to pen stack expense. Okay, so you can give a username or it can be optional. The database can also be optional, right? So maybe I'll put CodeWave, it can be optional. Okay, the region, I will leave it to default, right? The Postgres version should be the latest 16. Okay, great. And this also optional. And just select the free version. And there is a note here that you need to take care of, that the free instance, right, do not support backup, right? And I think after 90 days or so, it will be deactivated. Deactivated means you cannot access it again. Okay, and with the free plan, you can only create one Postgres database at a time. So if you have one already, you have to delete it and create new. Okay, so access will be access to these features. I mean, this database will be paused, right, or deactivated after some days. Okay, but I mean, we can use it for testing purpose and just click on create. Okay, so I'll click. Okay, so now we have our details here, right? We have the details of our database here. Okay, so when you go down here, you see that you have the host name, the port, the default port, the database name, your password, and the other information, right? They are all here. Okay, great. And you can also delete it from here. Okay, so now let's go into. Okay, so I will create. Let's start our app. So I have created a folder here known as Penstack, right? Penstack expense app, which is empty. So I will just drag this folder, right? I'll drag this folder into an empty Visual Studio Code like this. Okay. And you can see it's still empty. Then I'll go to here and open my terminal, right? New terminal. Okay, so we're going to start with the back end first, right? Okay, so I'll just create a folder as backend, right? And make sure you cd into backend. Okay, so you go into the backend, and here we're going to run npm init, and I'll just put -y flag to kind of skip all the questions, right? Okay, so it has been created. If you go inside, you see that we have this, right? Okay, so we will need to install our packages. What are the packages we're going to use? If you remember, I said it. So okay, so the packages are so we're going to install Express, right? We install bcrypt to hash our password, course.env, JSON token, a JSON web token, and the PG, right? The PG I told you, this one, the PG I told you, right? This, right? Great. Okay. So we'll install all of them, right? Okay. So whilst it is installing, right, we need to connect to our database and create our tables. Okay. So I have my PG admin, right? You need to download it. I have it connected already. So I'll just go to server. If you don't have any server, just click on server and register a server. Okay, so I'll click register. I need to give a name. So I'll say expense tracker, right? Okay, then I'll go to connection. So here I need to put the host name, the port, and everything, right? Okay, but I want to use okay, so these are the information, right? Okay, so let's do it this way. Let's create our .env file here already, env, right? And we'll need a database URI. Okay, so go back to render, right? Go back to render. And when you click on connect, you can see there's a connect method here. There is internal and there is external. So this external, copy this connection string. Copy this connection string after, okay, then put it here. Oh, sorry, I think I didn't copy it. Copy. Okay, is it copied? Okay, so if it's copied, great. Okay, so let me break it down. So if you check, you see it starts from here, and you have your name and your name and password and other stuff, right? Okay, so don't use my own. When I'm done, I will delete it. Okay, great. So you have the name here, so you can copy your name. Go back to your PG admin where you have name, right? Username, put that name. From here, after the name, the semicolon all the way to the @ symbol or under it, right? The @ symbol is your password. Okay, it's your password. Great. And from the @ right, all the way to the .com, right, is the host name. So copy that one and put that one here as a host name, right? And leave the port number. You can, oh, sorry, this is the password. Copy it here instead. Right, you can save the password. Okay, and the database name is this one, right? Okay, so copy the database name and put it here. Now click on save and let's see if it's able to connect or not. Okay, so it has been connected and now you can see that oh, I have two of them now. So which one am I even dealing with? Okay, so okay. Let me see if I can rename it. Rename server. You sure? Oh, so sorry. Okay, so now I've changed the name. So here, right, and database, you go to databases. Now you see by default, they give you one database already, but this is what we created, right? This is what was given to us by render, right? Okay, so here you click on it and you go to schemas. And in the schemas, you see tables. Okay, here, tables, and we don't have any table for now, right? So what we can do is just click on this, right? Or right click here and go to query tools, right? Query tools. Okay, so go to query tools here, right? So now here we are going to run our queries. Okay, so I have the script prepared already, right? So I will leave it on GitHub for you to use it, right? So I'll bring it here and give it a name of script.js or okay. Okay, so it's here, right? So these are it. Okay, so I have it here. Okay, so I have it here, right? Okay, great. So all you need to do is just copy it, right? Okay, then go to your PG admin. Inside the script here, you can just paste it like this. So what are we saying? If you know a little bit about SQL, you should be able to find your way around here, right? Okay, so we are using queries to create our database. You can also create it manually like this, create table, right? Great, but I think this one is pretty good. So we are saying create table, and this is the table name, right? TBL user, then parentheses, and we are giving the field. So we have an ID field, which we are using serial because we want it to have auto increment, right? We don't want the users to be creating IDs, right? So if you are familiar with MongoDB, you know that when you create, an ID is generated for you. So here we want an ID to be generated for us. We don't want it to be null. We want it to be the primary key, right? So we want it to auto increment. That's why we are using the serial here. Okay, Postgres has this function to do that for us. And we also have email, which is of type voucher, right? Voucher, and we want the maximum characters to be 120, and the email should be unique and not null. Also, we have first name. It can be a voucher of 50 characters. It should also not be null, but last name can be null, right? Note that, you see, we are using a naming convention, right? We have the first name and this name as a letter as capital. But when we create the table, right, everything will be small letters. So I want to maintain it so that you see. So when we're integrating it in our front end, if we enter the name like this, it will not work. We have to enter everything in small letters. You'll see shortly. We have contact, which is also Vaka. We have account. Account is test, and it's going to be type of IRE, right? Because user can have multiple accounts. So we want to add all the account, right? The accounts created. Password is also of type test because we don't know the length. We'll hash it, right? And they will have different lengths. Okay. We also have country and currency. The currency will be a Vaka of 5. It will not be null. And by default, if you don't provide any value, it will be equal to USD, right? Okay. And we have created at date, which is timestamp. It will not be null. The default will be current value as well as updated at. Okay. So how do I run this? Just go to this, right? This here, or press F5 on your keyboard and just run the script. So if it goes successful, you should see a message here that query returned successful, right? Okay. So if I reload or refresh the table here, you should see that we have one table, right? And you can go here and go to, I think they're supposed to be view. Oh, yes, okay, view, right? So view all, and here we'll return the table. Okay, so you see that all the names has been changed to lowercase, right? Yeah. Okay, great. Now we can also use a query. So I'll comment this. We can also use a query like select, right? Select, then we put star. The star means all, from, right? And the table name TBL user, right? So we are selecting all fields. The star means all fields, right? From the table. So if I run this, we should see the here, right? Likewise, we can also specify the fields we want to select. I think I can just put it like this: select first name and see. So now you see only first name, right? So you can, if you want to select specific columns, you can use this, right? But we want to select all. That's why we put in star. Okay, great. Now, how do we also insert record? It is fairly simple. Okay, fairly simple. You need to use the keyword insert, right? So I'll just paste this query. So we are saying insert into TBL user. We insert email, password, first name, right? Let me change this to lowercase. Okay, so we insert first name, last name, contact, country, and currency, right? And we are providing the values. So this will be for the first one, this for the second one, in that order, right? Okay, so if I comment this one and run this, a record should be inserted. So you see that query is successful. Okay, so let me comment this and now run the select again and see. Right, great. Great. So now you see that we have one record added. So we have one record added, right? Great. Okay, so this is how we can create table, right? So I'll just copy the rest of the table and create them. Okay, so I'll leave all of these codes for you to have it. Okay, so this is also for accounts. This is the accounts table. We have the ID, also primary key and auto increment. We have the user ID, which will be an integer, right? Because the ID from the user table is also an integer. And we are saying that it should not be null, and it will also reference the table user, right? Which column? the ID. Okay. And we have the account name, the account number, the account balance, which is number or numeric, right? I mean, there is SQL type of currency, but I want to use this so that we'll have a decimal place of 2. It should not be null, the created at and the updated at. Okay, so if I run this, let's see. Great. So it has also been created successfully. Let's create the last table. Let me comment this first. Okay, so now we are going to create table transaction. Also ID, the same user ID, which will reference the table user. We have the description of the transaction, which will not be null. We have the status, right? And by default, it will be pending. We have the source, where is the funds coming from, which will not be null. The amount, right, which will be numeric, not null. And the type of transaction, whether it's income or expense. By default, it will be income, the created at and the updated at. Okay, which will also be current timestamp. We have a little issue. Where is it? Okay. Okay, great. So now if I refresh the table here, you should see that now we have 3 tables: account, transactions, and table. Users, right? Great. Okay, so now that we have this, let us go and begin to connect to it and perform the actions from our backend. Okay, so now we have our .env here. I will also create a port and I'll put 5,000, right? Okay. And I'll also create a JWT secret to hash our passwords, right? And that one, you can put any string of choice. Okay, great, any string of choice. But know that it is the same string that will be used to sign and verify. Okay, great. Okay, so now in here, let's create the index.js file, right? Okay. In this index.js file, let us change our type from here. Let's change the type. So change type so that we can use ES6 modules, right? Type to module, right? So that we can use our import statement. And let's also add a start command, which will be nodemon, and it will start the index.js file. I mean, we want to save ourselves the trouble of having to start our app over and over again. Okay, so let's install nodemon npm I. Then I'll put capital D as a dep dependency, nodemon. Okay, and install it. Okay, great. Not this inside here. Okay, so here now let's begin to import our stuff. So we'll import course from course. Okay, we import express from express. Okay, so here now let us create our app. So we'll say const app is equal to an express app, right? Great. And let's also get our port. Oh, we import .env from .env. Okay, and let's configure it. So .env .config. Okay, great. We call it as a method like this. Okay, so we'll just say process.env, right? And the name is port, or we fall back to since I made it 5,000, let me fall back to 8,000. Okay, so if this port does not exist, we'll fall back to 8,000. Okay, so now how do we do it? Now let us tell our app to use course, right? Okay, and we want to accept requests from anywhere. That's where we put in the star. Now if you want to accept it specifically from only your server, you can put origin, right? Origin, and the origin can be an array. Then you put your URL here, right? You put your URLs here, then it will accept from only that URL. But I want to accept from anywhere. That's why I'm putting in a star. Okay, correct. Okay, let's also tell our app to use express. So say express, right? And .json. We want to be able to accept JSON. Okay. Express. Okay. Let's also use express.url encoder. URL encoded. Okay. Then we can set the extended property to true. Either I have more of the parentheses. Okay. What is missing? Okay, great. Even in this one, sometimes you can set the limit, right? You can set the limit of like 10 MB. Yeah, you can also set it like this. Okay, great. So now let's tell our app to also use. Now we want to have our API, right? Our endpoint be like this, API version 1, right? Then we'll put our routes. Then our routes will go here. Okay, right. So this route does not exist for now, but we'll create it shortly. Okay, now let's tell our app to also send a message, right? Whenever there is whenever that endpoint does not exist, right? So if user goes to any endpoint apart from that we have specified, right, we will send a response to the user that that endpoint or that path or route does not exist. So say response.status, right, or 404 not found, right? Okay, .json. Then we will send the message. The status will be not found, right? Great. And we can put the message as route not found. Okay. So I mean we can put the message 404. Yeah, something like this. Okay. Now let's tell our app to also listen. Then on what a listen on this port, we have a callback, right? We'll actually not need this. Yes. Okay. So we just need to console log a message that says that server running on, then we'll put a port on port, right? Okay, so we'll get this message. Now, in order not to get this error, let me comment this first, right? And just run the app and see npm start. Okay, and let's see. Okay, so you see that our server is now running. So basically, this is how you can set up a server. Now, if you want to use this, you need to integrate security features, right? Okay, so this is to get you started, right? From here, you can build anything you want to build. Okay. Now, let us create a folder by name database, a file. So I'll just put it inside libs, right? /database.js. This will create, the quick way you can create a folder and a file, right, is to click on create file, give the folder name / then the file name .js like this. So it creates a folder and a file. Okay. Now, how do we connect to the database? So we have installed the PG, right? So we'll import PG from PG, yes, from PG, right? Okay. Then we also, since this file is not running in here, right? In here, we're going to call it separately. We need to bring our .env here again. .env. It should not be this. Great, like this. Okay, and configure it, which is pretty simple, like we did here. So I'll just copy this and bring it here again. Okay, now we'll say cons, right, and let's destructure the pool as I told you from the pool from the PG that we have imported, right? Okay, so how do we do it? So we just say export cons pool. So notice that this is capital, this is small. Okay, do not confuse it. Equal to, then we use a new keyword, right? We create an instance of it. Then we pass our values, right? So here you can put the host name, the password, the username, everything. but I'm just going to use this string, which contains everything, right? It contains everything. So all I need to say is just connection string, right? Connection string, then I'll say process.env, right? Then I'll put this. Okay, so let's continue. So in the route, we'll create an index file, index.js, right? Okay, so here we also need to import express from express. Okay, so from here, we also then we need to create a router, which will be equal to express.router. Okay. Okay, so notice the router starts with capital R. After that, we'll have to export it. Export default router. Okay, so now we can go inside our here, right? And now bring this one here. So all we can do is just say import router, right? From we go to one routes, right? Slash index.js. Okay, because we have changed the type to module, right? That want to use import statement, we need to add .js to our files, right? So if I click on it here, it goes there. Okay. Okay. I think we make it route, so let me change this to routes. Yeah. Okay, simple. Okay, so it's still running. Okay, so inside our routes, we'll have alt routes. We'll have accounts routes.js. We'll also have transaction routes.js. Then lastly, we'll have user routes. Okay, great. So in here, we'll import alt routes from alt routes.js. Okay, if I click here, I think I get the naming wrong. Auth routes. Okay, so I think I'm getting the naming wrong, so I'll just copy it. Okay, so here, and just put it and see. Okay, great. And we also need to import the others, like account routes from accounts routes. Okay, that one works. We also need to import transaction routes. And let's see. Yeah, that one also works. And let's import the user routes from user routes. Okay, great. Okay, so now let's continue. Okay, so now we need to form the various routes. So we'll use the router that we created. So router.use, right? So we want to use what endpoint will it have? This one will have auth, then it will be the auth route. So we can duplicate this, and this will be user, then user routes, user routes. Okay, this will be account route, and this will be transaction route. Okay, so these are various routes. Okay, so we'll be working on it one after the other. Okay, but then let me comment this so that we don't get this error. Account route, Okay, so transaction and user. Okay. Okay, so let me also comment this ones. And now let's go into the auth route. Okay, so in the auth route, I mean, it follows the same pattern, right? So we'll just go here, copy this, put it here, right? Copy the methods and put them here. So we're also creating a router, and this time we are saying it should be a post request, and it goes to the endpoint of sign up, and we'll call this function, which we'll create in the controller. And this also is a post request, which is for signing and goes here, right? Okay, great. So now let us go and create inside the controller, right? Let's wait. So inside the controller here, we'll have auth controller.js. Okay, so let's work on that. So just say export const, and the name was sign up, right? Okay, which will be an async method. We'll get the request and the response, right? Great. Now I would like to have a try catch, right? Great. To catch all errors. Okay, and I'll just copy my error message. Okay, so I'll log the error message, then return a status of 500 with fail and the message, right? Okay, so I'll just duplicate this, then change the name to this name, which is sign in user. Okay, so now we can go here and import this. So just put your cursor in front of it and press Control and space, and just press enter. And note that you need to add the extension.js. Okay, and also import this. Great. Okay, so if you do it correctly, you should see that your server should be back and running again. Okay, so now let us go into it. Now, how do we create user? First, we need to get the user information, right, from the body. So we'll need the first name. Last name will not be needed during registration. We'll need email and password. Okay, and where are we getting them from? We get them from the request.body. Okay, so the request body will have this information. Okay, so first we need to check if the email already exists, right, or not. So let's verify that all these fields firstly are not empty. So first name or email or password, we check that if they are null, right, if they are empty, then we'll return to the user a response that says that I think I can copy my response. Okay, so we just return to the user, right? So we'll check if this is empty or this or that. The reason we are using or is that one can be empty and the other can be not, right? So if it's empty, we'll return a 404 that is a status field that provide all fields, right? Great. Now, if the user provided all fields, then we can go on and check whether the user exists or not. So user exists, right? Now, if the user exists, we'll say await, then we'll call the pull method, right? Now, note that this pull method is coming from the database we created. So if you go into the libs file here, this pull is what we are calling, and not the pull from PG here, right? Okay, so don't make a mistake. Okay, so this pull from our database, right? So don't forget to add JS. Okay, so pull, then dot query. Okay, so query, then we need to pass the query. So the query, I mean, all of this are from the documentation here. I believe it's here. So if you check in how to use the pull, right, you can see there are various things you can do. Pull. You see that if you want to use it, pull method, right? This is how you connect it, and this is how you perform a query. You can pass it straight like this, or you can also pass the text and the value, right? The text and the value. I think they have an example down here. Okay, I can't find it, but let's go on. Okay, so we'll pass the text, right? And the text will be the query string, right? So we say select, right? We select exist, right? We want to select if it exists or not. So we select all, right? Now this, it's a bit strange, but don't worry. So we first want to select if it exists. What are we selecting? We select all from, and the table name was what? TBL user, right? Then we put a condition where what are we selecting? Email equal to, then we put $1, right? Okay, $1. Okay, so $1. Then we put, now we pass the values, right? Values. Now the values will always be in an array form, right? Right. Whether it is 1 or not, it will still be like this. So don't forget this. Okay, then what is it? Email. Okay, so since this is 1, it will be this value, right? If we have more fields, we'll add more, like comma, then we'll put the $2, then we'll also increase these values as well, right? Okay. Okay. Okay, great. So this will help us to fetch if the user exists or not. And I think we have an error that says that .env is not defined. I want to believe it's coming from the database. Oh, you see. So I'll just go here and copy this. That's .env. Okay, replace it here. Okay, great. So it still works now. Okay, so if the user exists, then we need to send a message. Now, this user, how can we get it, right? We need to get the user exists variable, right? And inside it, there will be rows. There will be rows. And since it's one user we're talking about, we only want the first one, right? That's why we put in the index of 0, right? Okay, if .exists, right? If it exists, meaning that the user account already exists, then we'll return a message in the same similitude like we have above, right? We'll return a message of 409, like conflict, right? With a status field that email already exists. Okay, I hope you understand. Great. Now, if the user does not exist, then we need to hash our password. So we'll say hashed password, right? Now, let's create the utility here. That will be, let's just say index.js. And how do we hash our password? We need to import bcrypt and JSON web token since we're here, right? So we'll just say export const hash password, right? Okay, hash password. It will be an async function which it will take the user value, right? Which will be the password. Okay, then great. So here we'll create a sort first. When using bcrypt, we'll create a sort and we'll await it. Await bcrypt, right? Dot gen sort. So we want to generate a sort of 10 rounds. Okay, great. When it's created, now we need to hash the password. So hashed password will be equal to await bcrypt, right? Dot hash. Now it has a method hash, right? And now we pass the user value, which is the password, and the sort. Okay, then we'll return the hashed password. I hope it's simple. Okay, great. Now that we are here, let's also create the compare password as well as the create JWT. Okay, so how do we also compare the password? We say const compare password, which will also be an async function. Okay, so we'll take the user password, right, and the password from the database, right? Okay, so let's put a try catch to avoid error. Console log the error here. Okay, so here now we see const is match, whether the password matches or not. Okay, so we'll await bcrypt. It has a method compare, right? They will put the user password and the password from our database side by side. If it matches or not, we'll return the is match. Okay, so return is match to see whether it matches or not. Now let us also create the function to create our JWT, right? Okay, const export const create JWT. Okay. Okay, so we'll take the user ID as a parameter, then we'll return something. We'll return JWT, which is imported up there, dot sign, right? We want to sign. What are the various things we need to provide? We'll provide user ID as the ID we have received, right? Then we call our process dot env dot. So if you check, we have a secret here, so we use the secret. Okay, so we use the secret here, right? Then how long do we want it? So expires, sorry, it should be, okay, expires. Okay, expires in, then you can put any number of days you want. So I'll put 1D, which is 1 day, right? Okay, so this, okay, so I think there is one extra parenthesis, which is coming from, okay, so this matches this matches this, right? And what again? This. Oh, okay. So here it should be like, okay, so the sign takes 3 arguments, right? It takes, yeah, okay, great. So it takes 1, 2, and 3. Okay, great. Okay, so now let's go back and call this method of hash password. So await, we put this method, call it hash password, make sure the extension is there. Okay, great. And we pass the password that we have received from the user, right? Okay, great. So now let us perform the insert operation. So we'll just say const user, right, equal to await pool.query, right? Great. So we have text and we have values. Okay, so what is the text or the query itself? We say insert into table is table user, right? What are the values? The values are first name, email, and password. Okay, great. Email and password. Email and password. We want to insert values. Great. Oh, great. So we set values of $1, 2, 3. So we need to provide them here. The first one is the first name, right? The second one is email, and the third one will be the hashed password. Okay, great. Now we need to add something. In order to get the user information back, this query will insert it, but it will not return the user data. So in order to get the user data returned, we need to put, after the parenthesis, we need to put returning, right? Returning all. Returning, right? Make sure you spell it correctly. Returning all. Sorry. Returning all. Great. So that will return all the information. Great. So now we have successfully done that. So we can just send a message, right? So what we can do is we can say user dot, if you remember, there are rows and we need the first index or the first item, and we'll append the password. We'll set the password to undefined. We don't want to send the password to the user, right? Then we'll give a response of this. So we send a response with a status of 201, which is created, right? And it will be success user created. Then we send the user information, right? Great. So this will help us create the user. Okay. Now let us talk about how we can do the this. Okay, so I'll copy this and put it down so that in the next one we don't have to repeat it again. Okay, so here we also need to get the username and the password, right? We need to get the username and the password. Now, the same way we selected the user, right? We'll have to select Now, with the select query, you don't have to add the returning because the select will return something, right? So we'll say result should be equal to the pool.query, right? And the test is select all, right, from table user where email is equal to the email we have provided, right? Okay. If it comes successful, we'll just say result dot rows, right? The first one. Okay. So if the user exists, right? If the user exists, so we check and see if the user exists, right? Then, sorry, we have the exclamatory mark here, right? So if user does not exist, we'll send that invalid email or password. I mean, we know that it is the email that is wrong, so we can specifically say invalid email. Okay. If the email is correct, right, then we need to check whether the password is correct. So we'll call our function await hashed password, hash password. Compare instead, compare password. And we pass, if you remember, the password, right? And the one from the database, which is user password. It will be in this user, right? So we'll pass that one. Okay, so the response will either be true or false. So if it comes out that its match is false, right? Okay, if its match is false, then we send a message, right? Or a response of invalid email or password. Okay. If it turns out that email and password are all correct, then we need to create a token, right? So token will be create JWT, right? Function. They will pass user.id. They will pass the user ID. We'll also use the user.password. They will set it to undefined. Okay. User password to undefined. And now we're going to send a response to the user. And the response will have a status of 200. The message will be successful. The status will be successful message of login. Then we send the user, right? And we also send the token. Okay. Great. So this is how we can create our login, right? Okay. From here, we can go to, let's test it and see, right? Okay. So I'll open my Postman. I'll open Postman. So if you have Postman installed, you can use it to test your API endpoints, right? Okay. So because the first password wasn't hashed, I will want to delete it. So delete from TBL user where I think the ID will be 1, right? I'll try and see. Let me uncomment the fetch or the select and see. Okay, so it's gone. Okay, great. So now I'll bring my Postman. Okay, so I have okay, this here already, so I'll use it. I don't have to create more. So I'll go to sign up, right? Okay, and if you notice, we are this time running on port 5000. So I'll change this to 5000. 5000. Okay, great. So I'm going to send this info, right? Okay, so I have the email. So you just have to make sure the request is post, right? Okay, you put your endpoint, which is HTTP, localhost, then your port number /API-v1, right? /all/signup. Then you click on body. When you click on body, select raw and make sure JSON is selected, right? Great. So now let's send the request and see if it will go through or not. Okay, so we have an error, and let's go to our terminal first and check. We are not getting any error here. Okay. We are not getting any error from here. Okay, so auth, then here to here and sign up. Okay. Okay, so let's view. It says that HTTP. Okay, so error is, I think I have excess zeros here. I have 50,000 instead of 5,000, right? Okay, So let's try it. So I try it like this, and let's see. Okay, so I get an error of field cannot destructure property first name of request dot busy, not body. Well, from that sign in, okay, I think it should be here. Oh, sorry, it should be body. Okay, great. So let's try again and see. Okay, so now it goes through, and now we are returned with the user information, right? Okay, so if we go to here and run the query, right, I think we should also see it here. Great. Okay, so now let's try the signing. This one is the same, so I'll just click on signing and also go to 5,000, right, which is also a post request, and the body, you provide the body, right? I click sign in and see. Great. So now we have the information and the token return. Great. Okay, so now in our next, we will continue with the other endpoints. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Okay, so now let's continue. So now we'll go now to the user route, right? So before then, let me copy this and bring it here. Copy this, okay, and also bring it here. What again will I even need? Okay, I think I'll need this. Now the routes here will be protected, right? So now let's create this. I have a middleware that I've been using. I mean, I basically use it in every project. So yeah, so it's not new. So I'll just paste it. Okay, so we just import the JWT, right? And it's called auth middleware. We have the request, response, and nest. So we first get the auth header. We get the authorization, right? The token. So when we get the header, we check if the header does not exist or the header does not start with the bearer name, right? If it does not, we'll send a message of authentication field, right? Authentication field. If it exists, we just have to split it because it will come in a form of bearer, right? Then the token will follow like this. So there is a space between. So we'll just split it and take the first. So we split it. This will be 0 and this will be 1. So we take the token itself, right? Great. So when we take the token, then we need to verify it. Okay, so we need to verify it using, we say user token, we use JWT and the secret key that we have, right? We also pass the secret key. And when we verify it, then we attach the user ID, right, to the request body dot user. Then we attach user ID and we put the ID there so that we'll get the user. Okay, I hope you get it, right? Okay, so we go here, right? And now we need to have the various routes. So we'll have router.get first to get user, right? So just go to /. And that one will need the middleware. So import the middleware, right? Okay. When we import the middleware, then we'll do get user. Okay, great. Get user. So this is how it will follow. It will follow this pattern. And I'll just copy the rest and bring them. Okay, so this will get the user. This will also get the same. Okay, so this is a put request to change the password, and this is also a put request to update the user information. Okay, so now let us go into the controllers again, right? And we'll create user controller.js. Okay, so if you remember the export cons method, great. So this I'll duplicate, right? Okay. Okay, so now what was the name? The name is get user, right? And I'll duplicate it to let me do 2 more times. No, we keep 1. Okay, I will comment this 2. The next one is change password. And the last one is update user. Update user. Okay, great. So now we can import them here. So this .js, this, and this. Okay, so great. So now, yeah, our app store runs. So let's go here to get user. How do we get user? If you remember, it's fairly simple, right? So we need to get the user ID. So if you check from the middleware, right, you see that we are attaching the user ID. So we just need to go to request.body.user then ID, right? So we are destructuring the user ID from the request.body.user. Okay, when we do that, then the same select query that we have been using to, right? So we say user exists, we await the pool .js, great, right? Then the query is select all from TBO users where the ID is equal to this and the ID is user ID. Okay, so now we'll say const user equal to user exists, right? User exists dot rules, and we only need the first one. Okay, great. So the same thing, I mean, we have done this when we were checking during the sign up, right? So if the user, I mean, does not exist, we send a response that user not found. If they exist, we set the password to undefined, then we send the response, right? Great, very simple. Okay, how do we update or change our password? Okay, so with that one, we need a couple of things, right? We also need to get the user ID, request.body.user. And we also need the various information, right? From request.body. What are the information we need? Okay, one, we will need the current password, right? When we get the current password, then we'll get the new password. Then we'll get the confirm password also. Okay, so we need these three things. Okay, so when we get it, we first need to select the user and see if the user exists. So this one, it's not new. I'll just copy and paste it, right? So we select the user if the user exists by the ID, right? If the user does not, we say the information does not exist. But if the user exists, right, now we need to check if the password, that is the new password, is not equal to confirm password. If they are not the same, then we'll respond that the password does not match, right? New password does not match. However, if it matches, then we have this query already, so we'll just bring it. I mean, we have this function, so we'll check whether the old password or the current password is correct, right? So .js, okay, we'll check whether the old password is correct. If it's correct, then we can proceed to change it. If it is not, right, we need to respond that invalid current password. Okay, so if it matches, right, so we say if it matches, then we need to hashed password, right, like we did. So await hash password, then we pass the new password. That's it. Okay, when we pass the new password, then we need to say const or await this await pool.query. Okay, and its values. Okay, so what is the query? The query is update. What are we updating? We update the table. Then we set what? Oh, great, set. So we update table name set password to 1, where Now, if we don't bring the where condition, all the password in the table will be updated. Okay. So we want to set the password to the new one we provided, where ID is this. Okay. So we need the first variable is the hashed password. And the second one will be the user ID, right? Okay. So this is for this and this is for that. Okay. Great. So if it goes through, we need to send a message or a response to the user that password has been changed. Very simple. Okay, so we're going to use the same. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. This is supposed to be for change password. Great. So just copy and paste it here. Okay, great. So now how do we update user? Okay, so that one, as usual, we'll get the various variables, right? So we get the user ID, then we get the first name, the last name, the currency, the country, currency, and contact. We will not update the email, so that's why we're not getting it. Okay, then we first need to check if the user exists or not, right? So this code will not change, it will be the same. We'll fetch user if user exists, right? If user does not, we say user cannot be found. Okay. So if the user exists, we will now need to do the updates. Okay. So how are we going to do it? We're just going to say const updated user, right? Should be equal to await pull.query. Okay, test and values. Okay, test and values. Okay, so the same thing, update table name, then set. Okay, so set first name to $1, then comma last name. Okay, so last name $2, and country, yes, rates, currency 3. Okay, then let's change this to contact is 4, and updated at will be equal to current time stamp. Okay, so where ID will be equal to $6, right? And we want to return, so we return all. Okay, so let's go over it again. What are we saying? What we are saying is that we want to update the table user, and we set the first name to the new one we provide, the last name, the country, the currency, right? The contact, the updated date, which will be the current timestamp, right? And we want to update where the ID is equal to the user ID that we provide. So the first one is first name. The next one is last name, right? Last name. Okay, country to currency to contact, and contact to user ID, I believe, right? Because this one, the updated that we have set the value here already, so we don't have to provide the value. I hope you get it, right? So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good. Oh, sorry. All of this has to be inside this. They are inside the area here. Okay, great. So if it goes through, we need to, as usual, send a response, which will be, we set the ID password to undefined, then we send a response that the information has been updated. Great. Okay, so let's go and test this endpoint. So come back to our Postman. I want to copy this token because we'll need it. I copy it, right? So go to, I have the user here already. So I'll go to get user, right? If I go to get user, let me close this here, and I'll just go to authorization, go to bearer token, and put the token you have here, right? Okay, and it's a get request. It goes to an endpoint of 5,000, right? And the ID of the user is what was the ID? I believe the ID is either 2. Okay, 2. I don't think there is even the need. Okay, great. So I'll just put the request through like this, and it says that route not found. Route not found. Okay, so let's check it. So it goes to /user. User /. So why not found? Okay, so HTTP localhost 5,000. Okay, I am getting the route not found, but I don't know why. Okay, let's go here and go to the index here. Oh, okay, we need to uncomment this. My bad. Great. So now we go here. Great. And we are getting an error from, where are we getting it from? Okay, so I think the error is from here. Oh, okay, so this is supposed to be dot. Great. So now let's try it again. So I remove the 2 again. User, great, and let's see. Okay, so now the user information is returned. Great. So how do we change our password? Okay, so if you remember, the first password was 12345. Okay, so it's a put request. The endpoint is 5,000. So body raw JSON. So current password is this, and the new password will be this, right? Okay, I'll just send it through and see. It says that, okay, great. I need to set the authorization here. So I'll copy it, right? Go here, authorization, and change this one and put this one here. Okay. Okay, so now we get password changed, right? Okay, so if we go here and now want to log in, we should get an error, right? Invalid. Great job. Okay, so let me copy this token again. Okay, so most of these things work now. So I'll go to update, which is also a put request. The endpoint 5,000, and these are the values. I'll go to authorization and change the token here. Great. Go to body, raw, and JSON. Okay, and I'm providing this first name, last name, contact, country, and currency, right? Okay, so if I send this through, I'm getting an error. What is the error here? Okay, I think I should remove this. So updated, it's not exist. Okay, let's try again and see. Okay, send route not found. Okay, what is the route? Oh, okay, there's supposed to be an ID. Are we even using the ID? Okay, so if we go to the update, do we use the ID? We are not using the ID, right? The parameter. So I don't think it's even necessary. Okay, so since we are not using the password here, the ID, we can remove it. And they are the same endpoint, right? But you notice that the methods are different, right? So I think we can remove it like this, and let's try it. And send and see. Column updated. Okay, so there is an issue now with the column, right? Column updated at. Okay, updated at. Updated at. Okay. Let's see again. Put it through. Now value for column first name population violates. Okay, I think either there is a typo. Okay, so first name, it's here. Oh, okay. So here, the naming should be small letters. Yeah, great. So they are small letters, right? If you check from here, you can see that they are small letters, and we are distraction from here, right? Great. Okay, so let's put it through again, and I want to believe this will be the last one. It go through. Great. So we have been able to update. So now we're done with the two other routes. So next one, we'll move to the account and the transaction. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Okay, so now let's go into the account route, right? Account. Okay. So here I'll just copy and bring it. Okay, great. Maybe I can remove this since. Oh no. Okay. So this. Okay, they work. And this, I'll create it. Okay, great. Okay, so I have the account controller also created here, right? And here, okay, I've uncommented it. Okay, so here the routes we have are all protected, right? So we have get the account, right? Now get the account can take the ID, and I put a question mark here because it can be optional, right? Yeah, it can be optional. That's why I put a question mark. Yeah. And this is also a post create account, and this is also add money, right? Like if you want to top up, right? Great. So this is a put request, post request, and a get request. Okay. So if I go in here, I put not this. Okay, great. This is what we're using. So I will just duplicate it. I think it's 3 times. So I'll do 4 to keep 1. First one is. Okay, so the first one is get account. The next one is create account, and the third one is add money. Great, right? Great. Okay, so now let's go into it one after the other. Okay, so here we also still need to get the user account ID, right? To get the user ID, and we'll check the accounts. So accounts will be equal to await. Then we call the pull method, right? .js, we call it. Then we pass the query. Then the values. So what is the query? The query is we want to select all, right, from this time table account where user ID. So the user can have multiple accounts, right? If you remember, like the cash account, crypto, or whatsoever, right? But in every account, there will be the user ID, right? Okay, where the user ID will be equal to the user ID here. Okay. Now, this one can return more than one record, right? Great. So what we can do is we'll just return, right, a status of 200. I'll say it should be JSON. So we have the status, status of success, and the data will be the accounts.rows, right? Great. So it can be more than one row. Okay, great. Very simple. Okay, how do we also create an account? So we'll also need the user ID. We'll also need to get from the request dot body, right? What are the things we'll need? We'll need the name of the account, right? The amount, the account number, right? Okay, so we need these three things. Okay, so now I will want to do it this time like this, that account exists query, right? Account exists query, right? So I'll put it like test this. And values. Okay. So now I'll say cons account exists will be equal to account exists result will be equal to await, right? Who dot query. Then I'll just pass the query I've created. So this query, right? Okay, so what is the query? The query is select or from table account, right? Great. Where account name, right, will be equal to S1 and user ID S2. $2. So we want to check if the account name and the user ID, right? So if the user has a cash account and the ID is the same, meaning that account already exists, right? So the first one will be the name and the user ID. Now user ID. Okay, great. So now let's just say accounts. Account exists. It will be the account exists query. Result, right? Dot rows. Then we want to get only one, right? Okay. So if the account exists, I'll just copy the response. If it exists, meaning it has been created, right? If it does not exist, then we can go ahead and create it, right? Okay, so we can also say cons account result, right? Or we can say, yeah, maybe create account result should be equal to await pull.query test and values. Okay, this. Okay, great. So how do we create it? If you remember, insert into table name, right? Then parenthesis value. The value will be user ID, account name, account number, and amount. Account balance. Okay, values, and the values are $1 up to 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Great. Okay, then since we want to return it, don't forget returning all. Okay, let me break it down. Great. So the first one is user ID. The next one is name, the account name. The next one is account number. And the next one is amount. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so ID, name, number, and balance. Okay, great. Now, once we are done like this, we need to update the user account. That user has created that particular account. So how do we do that? We need to fetch the user, right? Okay, so first we'll create account IRE, right? Let me call it user accounts. It will be equal to, we'll first make sure that it's an IRE or not. It's IRE, right? Okay, they will put the name, right? If name is an array, then we maintain it, else we make it an array like this, right? So we'll check if the account name comes in an array form. If not, then we'll make it like that. Okay, so now we need to update it. So I'll just copy this. Okay, so now I have this query, right? And the query is update user, right? We only want to update the account. So update user set account, right? And we are saying array concat, right? So we want to make sure that the value in it, right, is preserved. Then we add another one, right? That's why we're using this. If you don't use it, it will override it, right? So we concat the old one, the value in it already, then we add new one. Then the updated add date will be this, where the ID is equal to this. So we'll provide the accounts, which is this. I'll put this here, and the user ID, right? Great. Then this will perform the operation, right? Great. Once the operation is done, now we need to, once you create an account, you see that you add an initial amount. So we need to insert that one also into the transaction table, right? Okay. So now I'll bring this, which says that now we're going to add initial transaction, right? So we'll have the description. The description will be the account.name, account.name, right? Okay. So I need to get the account here. So I'll say const account will be equal to create account result dot rows, then this. Okay, so this, right? They will get the account that we have created, the name of it, right? And we'll just add initial deposit to it so that we know this is the initial deposit, right? Okay, let me also bring the query since it follows the same path. Okay, since it follows the same pattern, I'll just copy and bring it. Then we explain it. Okay. Okay, so I added from here, right? Okay, so after we get in the description, right? Now we'll say insert into table transaction, right? TBA transaction, the user ID, the description, the type, the status, the amount, and the source, right? The value. So these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the values are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, as well as 6, because we have 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, okay, there are 6. And what also want to return it, right? So the values are the user ID, the description, the type will be income, the status will be completed because all the above has been completed, right? And the amount as well as the source. The source will come from the account, plus the account name, right? Then we pass it to this one and perform the action. Once it goes through, we just need to now alert the user that the account name has been created, and this will be the account information, right? Okay, great. So I hope you get it. Okay, so how now do we add funds to our account? Okay, how do we add funds? So that one, if you check, right, if you go to the route, you see that we take an ID from here as a parameter, right? So we need to get the user ID, the amount from the body, amount you want to deposit, and that ID. So we get the user ID, right? The login user. We get this from the params, which is here, right? The one coming from here. And we get the amount from the body. Okay, I want to ensure that then the amount is number. So as a new amount equal to number, then I put the amount. Then I put the amount. Okay, so when I put the amount, now we need to perform the action, and the action is const results to be await pool, right? And the query is this, which is update account, right? We want to update the account, set the account balance to this, but we want the account balance there, then we add the new amount to it. So what is in there already, then we add more, then we update the updated date where the ID will be this, and return it, right? Great. So the ID will be this. That's the account ID, right? Okay. Okay, great. Then after that, we need to get the account information like this, right? because it will only return one. So we'll get the first one. Now we create a new description because we also need to insert the record into the transactions database, right? So get an account name, right? This is also deposit. It's like we are doing deposit. Whatever we want to put here, you can put it, right? Okay. Now let me form a query and perform the action. Okay. So I'm just going to bring it here. So now after this description, right, I'm forming a query, right? So the transaction query, and the query is insert into, right? So the text and the values. So insert into TBL transaction, the user ID like we did above there, right? And we add all of this. And adding money is an income, right? And when it goes to this and the amount and everything here, the same thing. Okay, so we just perform the action, right? And we send the account information, right? We will not send the transaction information. So we can even remove this, right? Great. And just send this to the user that the top up was successful. Okay, so this is how we can create account and also top up our account. Let's test it quickly. Okay, so I'll go into here and copy the token, right? Yes, before I close this and close this. So I'll go into account, right? Create an account. Okay, great. So I want to create a PayPal account. And this is a dummy account number, and I'm going to put this amount, right? This amount. Okay, I think it's 100,000 or so, yeah. And let me change this to 5,000. It's a post request. The authorization, let me change it. Okay, and put it through, and let's see if it goes through. Great. So now our account has been created, right? So the user ID, the account ID, the number, everything is here. Okay. So if I go to get account, where is get account? Okay. I think it's this one. Yes. Let me rename it to get accounts. Okay. So get accounts. Okay. Let me change the token. Okay. And that one, there is nobody because we just want to get, right? So I can remove this and just send it. Oh, sorry. I need to change the port number. 5,000. Okay. Syntax error near equal to. Okay. So I think there is a syntax somewhere. Okay. So select all from account. Okay. So great. So there should be where, right? Where user ID is equal to this. Great. There should be where. So let's try it again and see. Okay, so now I have one account, right, created, and this is my account balance is here, right? Great. So now let's add money into it. If you remember, the account number was 1, right? The account ID 1. Okay. Okay, so add money. So I'll also change the token from here. Okay, go to body, and yes, so the number here, it's 1. The param should be 1, and I'll also change this to 5,000. And let's see, I'm adding 100 to it. So let's see if it goes through. Great. So now our amount is now 100 and 100. Okay, 100,000, 100. I hope that's right. Okay, yeah. So now we're making progress, right? Great. So don't forget to like and subscribe. Now we'll move to the transactions, right? Transactions. This is supposed to be transactions. Okay. Okay. So now that we are done with the account, let's move swiftly to the transactions, right? So I will comment this and go inside here, right, and paste the routes. Okay. So here we're gonna have this 4 routes, right? It's the same thing. I mean the same approach, right? The only thing that changes is here we also have the middleware, right? And we'll have get route, right, to get all the transactions. We have another one, get, which will show data on our dashboard, right? We have a post request, that is to add transaction, right, where we'll pass the transaction ID, sorry, the account ID, right, which is also a protected route. we'll also have another put request to update, right? That is to transfer money, right? We want to transfer money to one account. Okay, right. Okay, great. So yes, okay, so these files exist, but the controller does not exist, right? So you can just right click and create transaction controller, right? But I'll click on this, it does not exist, and just create it, right? So it's here. Okay, good. So now okay, so here so I'll just paste the great. So there are four routes, right? So I will uncomment this and duplicate it 4 times. Okay, so 4 now, and I'll just change the names to this. The next one is get dashboard. This and this. Okay, that's the last one. Okay. Okay, so let's start from the simple one. I think the simple one is to get transaction, right? Okay, and how do we get transactions? Okay, so we first need to get today's date, right? Okay, so if the user does not send any date, right? I mean, we just want to, by default, fetch record within the past week or 7 days, right? Okay, so we'll just say const _7 days ago. Okay, great. Will be equal to new date. Then I'll pass today, right? So what I'll do is now 7 days ago dot set date, right, to today dot get date. Then I will subtract 7 from it, right? Okay, so I'm getting today's date, right, and just passing it here. And what I'm doing is that I just want to set the date, right? Set the date to set the actual date, and the actual date we are subtracting 7 from it, right? Okay, so when we subtract 7 from it, meaning it will go back 7 days back, right? Okay, so I can now say equals 7 days ago, right, will be equal to underscore 7 days ago dot to IO grade ISO string dot split. Okay, so this date comes with the time and those long things. So I want to remove them, and I'll split it by the t, right? So the time part, I'll split it by the t and take the 0 index, the first one. Okay, great. Okay, so this is if the user does not provide. However, if the user send the date, right, we have the df and the dt. You can use any variable name. The df and the dt are for date from and date to, right? And they will come from the query, right? The query. And also the s is also a search variable, right? Okay. Let's also get the user ID. This should be const. Okay. So request the body dot user. Okay, so now const start date, right, should be equal to new date. Then we pass the df, right? If it does not exist, then we pass 7 days ago. I hope you understand. So we'll default take this string from here and make it a date. If it does not exist, then we get this date. Okay, let's also do another one for end date, and that one will be dt, right? If it does not exist, then we get new date. Okay. So the date will be between 7 days ago and today's date or the current date. Okay, great. So now, how do we fetch? So just say const transactions, right, should be equal to await, then pull dot, let's import it. Okay, .js, pull dot query. So test and values. Okay, so what is the query? The query is we select, right, or from TBL transactions, transaction, not transactions. Okay, where user ID equal to $1 and created at date, right? Between, so we want the created at date between 2 and 3, meaning the values that will provide between 2 and 3, right? So what should be the date? It should be between these two dates, right? Okay, great. So created at between the value 2 and the value 3, right? And okay, we can also provide more conditions. And now I'm going to say description, right? I like. So we want to, that one is not going to be strict, right? So we want to search. When you search, it should be like this, right? Okay, so that's why we put in the I like. If you just remove the I and just put like, it will have to be case sensitive, right? And it has to follow the same pattern, right? I mean, what you are searching has to be exact. But this one, if you search for anything, like you search for cache, anything that contains cache will come. Okay, so description I like, then we put quote, single quote, percentage sign. Let me break this. Percentage sign, double pipe, S4, sorry, $4. Then pipe and quote. Great. Okay, so we are searching description like, right? Then we have quotation, single quote, percentage sign, pipe, then $4, double pipe, then percentage sign, right? Okay. So this will take the value, right? So this will be the value, the search value. Now, okay, so it can be or, right? So it can be description or the status. Maybe the user wants to search the status, right? And that one will also be the same, right? So I'll just copy from here to here. It is the same value, right? So the same value, I mean, it will search through the description, search through status, right? And we can even add more, like or source, right? Then I'll put that one again. Right, okay. So when you search, whether it matches the description, right? It's like the description, status, or source, right? Great. So after the source, right? After this, put the closing parenthesis. If you remember, there is a parenthesis here, right? So all of this is 1. Okay. So after this, we want to also order the record. Maybe this it's a bit strange, but don't worry. Order by, right? I want to order by ID in descending order, right? Okay, so from the biggest, which means that the new record will come on top, right? Great. Okay, I hope it works. Okay, so now we need to provide the user ID, then the start date, the end date, and the search value, which is S. Right? Okay, great. So what will be left now is to send back a response of status 200.json. Okay, and the data will be transactions, right? Dot rows. Okay. Okay, so I hope you understand. Okay, let's go to this first before we come here, right? Okay, so let's go here. Add transaction. So how do we add transaction? We just need to first get the data, right? So we'll get the user ID, we'll get the amount, the account ID, which is coming from here, the account ID, and we'll get the description, the source, and the amount from the body, right? Okay, when we do that, we need to ensure that all the fields exist, right? So if description does not, source and amount does not exist, we send a feedback that provide them. Okay, now we need to do something. Okay, I just want to ensure, right, that I make the amount, check that the amount the user is sending is not 0. You cannot send 0, right? Great. So if it's 0, we send that the amount needs to be more than 0, right? Okay, great. Now, let's fetch the data. So now we're going to fetch from the account, right? You are trying to make a transaction. So we need to check from your account to see whether you have that kind of money in it to make the transaction, right? So we'll say results should be equal to pull.request. Then we say select all from the accounts table where the ID is the account ID you provide, right? We have distracted from top here. Okay, so we do that, right? And it has to return only one record. So we get the one record into this account information. Now, inside the account information, this is what we're going to do. We'll check. If not, right, if there is no account information, meaning that the account number is wrong. Okay, great. Now, if the account number is not wrong, meaning it is correct, then what happened? What we will do is that we'll check if the account info.account balance is less than 0, right, less than or equal to 0, meaning you don't have any money in your account, so you cannot make the transaction. Or if it is not 0, but the account balance, right, is less than the amount you are trying to transact, right, meaning you can't transact amount you don't have. So in any of the case, we will return a message that insufficient balance, right? So if I have 0 balance, I can make transaction. And if I have 1, I can transact 2. I can only transact the 1, right? Okay, great. So now we need to do something. Now because we'll perform more actions here, we'll use transaction, right? So we just say pull.request, right? Then I put in begin, right? Okay, so maybe we'll just put in here that begin transaction. Okay, so we'll begin transaction, and at the end we'll commit the transaction. Await pull.commit, right? Okay, so now we're going to run some queries here. So if one of the queries go wrong, none of the queries between here will be committed, right? So if all is successful, that's when it will be committed. I hope you understand. Okay, so if we make, whatever operation we perform here will only be saved when all is successful, then the changes will be committed. If it's not, then it will not be committed. I hope you understand. Okay, so we'll run 2 queries, right? Okay, so let me just bring them in. Okay, so what are the queries? These are the 2 queries we'll run, right? So first, we want to update the account, right? Okay, the reason we're using this is that if we update your account and assuming that the insert operation here gets an error, the account would have been deducted already, and this will not be saved, right? So that's why we're using this. So until all becomes successful, this will not be committed. This will also not be committed, right? Okay, so we want to update the account balance, right? So we'll say it should be equal to the account balance minus the amount we want to transact, right? Which is $1. and update the time, right, where the ID is equal to the account ID. Okay, great. Then we also insert transaction, right? So we insert transaction, the user ID, the description, the type, the status, the amount, source, and all of this, right? Okay, so this is the user ID. The description will be the description that will come from the user. And this time it will be an expense, right? And the status will be completed, the amount, and the source, right? Okay, great. So when all goes through successful, it will then be committed or saved. Then we can return a response to the user that transaction completed successfully, right? Great. Okay, so if you have a lot of activities or queries you want to perform, that if one goes wrong, you don't want the others to be saved, you can use what? Transactions to do that, right? Okay, great. So let's go to this one, to transfer money, which is also very simple. Okay, so to transfer money also, we'll need to get the user ID and the data, right? So get the user ID, where you're transferring from and where you're transferring to, as well as the amount you're transferring, right? Okay, so if by mistake the data we receive has no information, right, then we'll say that provide fields. You need to provide them. Okay. Now, similarly, we also want to do some checks. So like we did, I'll also check, right, whether the amount is less than 0, you can transfer 0. If it's less than or equal to 0, you can transfer it. Okay, so let's check the account information, right? Okay, so here we say check account details, right, and balance for the from account. Okay, so we say that from account result, right? So await, then we select all from account where the ID is equal to this, right? Okay, and we pass the from account. Okay. So I will, great. So I'll bring this where we fetch the information. I also paste this and let's explain. Okay, so when we fetch it, then, I mean, it will be only one data, so we'll get this, right? You understand this already, so no need. So we also check if the information does not exist, meaning the account information is not found or was not found, right? Okay, then if it exists, meaning this will not run, then we come here. Then we check whether the amount, the new amount is this here, right? That's the amount you are trying to transfer. If the amount is less than what is in, is greater than what is in your account, meaning insufficient balance, or so transfer field, right? Insufficient balance. So you can't transfer more than what you have. Okay, so assuming that the account exists, the money you have in your account is also more than what you're transferring, then we also need to begin another transaction, right? Okay, great. So what are the transactions we'll do? First, okay, so first, we'll transfer the money, right? Now, you see, we are transferring from one account to another account, right? So both has to be successful. That's why we are still using the transaction here, right? Okay, this transaction is not this transaction, the transaction table, right? It's an SQL operation, right? Okay, which makes sure that those queries between the beginning of the transaction and the commit all become successful. Then these changes will be saved, else it will roll back, right? Roll back means it will not be saved. Okay, great. I hope you understand. Okay, so we need to transfer. How are we doing the transfer? We're just updating the account balance, right? So the where we are transferring from, right? We just update the account balance, right? Subtract the amount we are transferring from it, right? So the account balance minus the amount, right? And we get the updated date where the account balance is equal, the ID is equal to from account. Okay. When you transfer it, we also need to receive it into which account, right? I mean, they are all our own account. We are not transferring to any different person. We are transferring from one of our account to another account, which belongs to same as, right? Okay. So the same thing we will receive into a particular account. So we also update it, right? It's the same thing. The only difference is that now this will be what? Plus, right? And the ID will be to account. And here we want to return the data of where we are transferring to. We also want to return the data, because we have the data of the account we are transferring from already. but we don't have this one. That's why I'm returning it. That's why and since I have the transfer from account, that's why I didn't return this, but I want to return this, right? Okay. Now, when we return it, we need to insert the transaction, right, into the transaction table so that we know that there has been transfers, right? Okay. So the description will be transfer, then from account name, right, to the account name. That is this account, the name, right? So meaning if I'm transferring from cash to, let's say, crypto, so cash to crypto, right? Okay. So that's here. And we need to insert that record into the table, into the transaction table. So we'll insert the transfer. So we'll say that insert into that. We have done this over and over again, right? So we put the description, which is up here, right? And put the various, and this is an expense because we are transferring, it's an expense to you. Okay, so I transfer this. Now, when you transfer it, now the transfer is an expense to me, let's say from my cash account, but I'm transferring to another account, which is crypto, but it becomes income there, right? So we also need to save that. Now, let's do some simple thing here. Assuming I have 10 in my account, let's say account A, I have 10 in it, right? Account B, I have 5 in it. So if I transfer from here, right, 5, if I transfer 5 from here to here, right, so then I receive, let me put -5 here, then here I receive +5, right? So here will now be 10, right? So if we subtract from here -5, so now here your balance will be 5, right? Okay, and here will be 10, and it will still be 15. So the total will still be 15 of both accounts, right? Great. It will still be 15. So if you it will still be 50, but if you add up the transactions, right? If you add up the transactions, it will not tally because you only have -5 here, which is this one we have saved, right? So we also need to save the +5 we are receiving here. We also need to save the +5. I don't know if it's clear to you. So we need to save the expense and also save the same amount we are transferring to that account. It becomes an income that we need to save it so that when we add the data from our transaction table, it will match our account balance when we put everything together. Else, it will not match. Else, it will be like you have more money in your account, but the transactions will not match up to it. It will be less, right? Okay, so we need to also save it as an income. Okay, I hope you understand what I mean. Okay, so with that one, I'll also compose a different description, right? This is receive. We are receiving from this account to this account, right? Okay, and also the same thing, but this time it will also be an income, right? So we also insert into it, right? But this time it's an income. So like similarly, but it's an income this time. Okay. Then let's commit all the changes, right? Okay. So we commit all the changes and now we return that transfer is completed. So until all becomes successful, the operation will not be committed. Okay. I hope you understand. Okay, great. It's a bit lengthy, but I hope you understand. Okay, if you don't get it, you can, re-watch it again. Okay, so now let's talk about our dashboard. So let's get the user ID first. Okay, and let's also get total income, which will be equal to 0, and cost total expense, which will also be equal to 0. Okay. Okay, so now I'll bring a query which will fetch data. Okay, so this will fetch data, right, from the transaction. We want to select type. This time we're not selecting all, we want to select the type, whether it's an income or expense, right? And also sum them by the amount, right? Okay, so we'll sum them, we'll get the summation of income and expense. We'll sum the amount. So this is how we sum it, right? Okay, we sum it as total amount from the transaction table where user ID is equal to this, right? And we group it by the type, right? So the grouping will be by type. So all the types, income will be grouped and the amount will be summed as total amount and the expense will also do same, right? Then we'll get the record here. Now it will be 2 it will not be one. That's why we are not fetching the first index. We want to get all the rows, right? Because it will come 2 rows, the income and the expenditure row. Okay. So when it comes like that, we need to perform an action, right? So we say transaction dot for each, right? So with each of the record that we receive, transaction, right? Okay, so that we format it into a format that will be suitable for us. So we'll say that if we just want to map over it, if transaction, right, dot type is equal to income, right? So if it's income, right? Okay, if it's income, we'll say total income, right, should be plus transaction dot total amount. This total amount. Okay, great. The A here will be small letters, so let's be mindful of that. It's a score. That's what will come, right? Okay. So sorry. Okay. So transaction, the value in it, then we add more. That's this plus equal to, right? We can also say equal to, then put total income plus, right? But I think this is the simplest way to do it. Okay. This should be here. Okay, great. Okay, if it's not that, meaning it's an expense, so we'll just say total expense, right, plus equal to this also. Okay, great. So this will help us get the total income and total expense. Okay, great. Now let's calculate the available balance. So we can just say const available, right? Okay, so now the available balance will just be the total income, right, minus total expense. Okay, right, that will be your available balance. Okay, now let's also perform an action to get the aggregation of records, right? Because we need to get all the records for a year. So I'll copy this code and bring it here. We want to fetch, the graph, right? The graph should be between a year. So, right, we're going to say, so aggregate transactions to sum by type and group by month. Okay, so that's what we're getting here. So we're getting the year. So we get the current year, right? And we'll get the start date, which will be the year we are in. And this is the month, right? And this is the first date. Okay, so if you check in JavaScript, the month starts from 0 to 11. So 0 is January and 11 is December, right? Okay, great. So the year, the month, and the first day, right? And the end will also be the same year. Then this will be 11, right? And it will end on 31st. And this is the time, right? So when this time passes, then it moves to another year, right? Okay, great. Now, this transaction is a bit long, so let me just copy and bring it here. So how are we fetching it? Great. So it's the same whole query, right, that we have. We have the text and the value part. Okay, so we are saying we should select, right? When we select, we should extract the month from the created at date. So SQL has this command to extract the month. So since it's a date, right, we want to extract the month from it. So we extract the month from this as this. So we extract it and return it as month. Then we also select the type and also sum the amount, right? The amount, because we also group in it. So we sum the amount as total amount, right? Okay, as total amount. From where? From the transaction table, where the user ID is equal to $1, right? And the created at date is between, like we did about there, is between this $2 and $3. And we want to group by the month we are extracting, right? We want to group by the month we are extracting from the date, right? Okay, great. And the type. So we want to group by month and type. So we have maybe this month, May income, right? May and income as one, and May expense as also different one. So that if we remove the type, income and expenditure all will be grouped as one, but we don't want it that way. We want to group by the month and the type. You understand? So the ID and the dates are also provided here. Okay, so now we need to do some simple thing. So I will just, okay, let's now organize the data, right? So I'll say organize data, organize data. Oh, organize data. Okay. So how are we going to organize the data? So const data should be equal to new array, right? We want it to be in a particular format. Okay. Now, since we are talking about a month, I mean, we need to get a year record, right? So we want to have an array of 12, right? So we use the fill function to fill it from, I mean, January to December, right? So we have 12 here. January to December is 12, right? Okay, so that's why we're using 12, right? Okay, to fill it, right? Then we map, then we do map. Okay, so we'll not need the data. That's why we put in this. All we need is we want to do something. Okay, we'll use only the index is what we need. Okay, we need the index. We don't need any data from it. We don't need anything. We need only the index. Okay. So when we get the index, now we'll say const month data should be equal to result, right? Where is the result? The result is coming from here, right? Okay. Okay, so result dot rows, right? Dot filter. So we need to filter it. When we filter it, we're going to get each item, and we'll need to return by pass int, right? We want to make sure that the month is an integer, right? So the item dot month, right? It will not return the string, but it will return, it'll return them as numbers, right? Okay. Return them as numbers. Okay. So now SQL will not return it as 0 to 11, but this time from 1 to 12, right? Where 1 is January and 12 is December, right? Okay, so we just want to make sure we convert it to an integer and it's not a string, right? Okay, so we want to return where the month, right, is equal to the index. And since the index will start from 0, we add 1 to it, right? Okay, so okay, we're getting it this way. Okay, so okay, so result, is it result or result? Okay, so result. Okay, so result dot rows dot filter, right? Okay, dot filter, and we get each item and return pass int the item, right? Okay, we're equal to index plus 1. Okay. Oh, okay, great. Now when we get that, now we can say const income, it's equal to the month data that we have dot find, right? Okay, we find an item and return where the item dot type, right? Okay, item dot type is equal to income question mark total amount or 0. Okay, great. So we just want to find the income, where we just want to find from the month data, right? Okay, we'll find from the month data. Now it will be good. We'll find from the month data and the month data, right? Where the item dot type is equal to income. We find the total. If we don't get it, we pass 0, right? Okay. And we can do same for expense, right? So const expense will also be equal to month data expense. Okay, great. So now let's return. So return label as. Okay, so I have a utility function. Now I don't want to return the numbers, right? So I'll go into the libs folder here in the index file here, and I'll bring this, right? I am just saying export function get month, right? So we take the index, right, and pass it inside here. We have January to December. So this will be index 0, 1, all the way to 11, right? So we just return this on the basis of which index. I don't want to return 1 or 0 or 1. Yeah, I want to return the actual month. So I'll bring this and pass the index, right? And pass the index. Okay, then pass the index. And where is the index? Okay, the index, we are still inside this, so we still have this index, right? And pass the index to get the actual month. Let me make sure here it has the JSS libs/index.jss. Great. Okay, great. Then I'll return the income amount and also return the expense. Okay, great. Okay, so when we are done with that, we also need to fetch the last transaction. So I'll just copy that one. You know how we fetch data. It's not a big deal. Okay, so we want to fetch the last 5 transactions, right? So last transactions, we select all from transaction table where user ID, it's equal to this, right? And we order by the ID in descending order, meaning the recent one will be first, and we use the limit function to limit it, right? Okay, so we limit it to 5. Okay, then we just get it here. We also need to fetch our account, right? So I'll just bring that one also, same thing. We fetch from the account table, right? And limit it to 4. Now, because by default in our front end, we'll set it to only 4 accounts, right? We do not allow you to create different accounts. We can only create cash account, crypto, and they are just 4 types, right? So that's why I'm limiting it to 4. Okay, great. So when we are done, we need to return all this, right? So I'll just copy my return, my response, right? So response with 200 being okay. Okay, so success, return available balance. I want to believe available balance. Okay, so return the available balance, the total income, total expense, and the chart data will be the data that we have formed up here, which will be within the 12 months, right? Okay, then the last transaction as well as the last account. Okay, so let's go and check. I'll bring my postman again. Okay, so I'll take the authorization token. I hope it hasn't expired. Go to my collection, go to transaction here. Okay, how do I get transactions? Okay, let me change the token here and also change the end this to 5,000. Let me also change the date, right? Change the date to May, let me see, 20th, right? The set should be now, and let's run it and see. Okay, so message is that cannot destructure property of user ID body as it is undefined. Okay, so I believe it's from get transaction here. Okay, so this should be user, not user ID. Okay, great. Let's try it again. We send. Okay, so now we get a response, right? So now we have the data, right? 2 information. Okay, 2 transactions. Okay, great. So this one works. Let's check how we can get a dashboard info. Dashboard info. I'll change the ports to 5,000. Okay, and change the authorization token also. Okay, it's also a get request, so send and see if it works. Okay, so assignment to constant variable field. Okay, field assignment to constant variable. Let's check from our terminal. Okay, so this here, if I click on it, okay, here. So let's change this to let instead, right? Yes, when we use the const, it's a constant variable, we cannot change it. Okay, so let's use let so we can update it. Okay, great. So send and let's see. Okay, so now we have the records. So we have the available balance, the total income, and the total expense, right? And the chart data, you see. So it's in this format. Okay, great. And we are in which month? Okay, I don't believe there is this. Okay, there is transaction. So I believe there should be records of such. Okay, because we have this records, right? Okay, and this is the account information. So, and this is also the account information. Okay, so the month here, I mean, we are in this month, right? May, and it's supposed to have a value, but it's 0. And I believe it's from here. Here should be total amount, right? Because if you remember, we were returning it as total amount, right? Yeah, great. So total amount, great. And let's try it again and see. Okay, so month. Okay, great. So now you can see that there is an income, there's no expense. Okay, so let me still copy this and go to transfer money and see. Okay, also change the port 5,000. Okay, put this. Okay, so in the body here, I'm going to transfer from which account? Let's say from account ID 1. Okay, I don't have any other account again, so let me go create another account. I only have one account, right? So I'm going to create cash account, and that one I'll put only one in it. Yeah. Let me also change the account number. Okay, and send. Okay, so that one has ID 2, right? So if I go back here, yeah, transfer. So I'm going to transfer from 1 to 2, and I'm going to transfer 100. Okay, so if I send, let's see if it will go through. Okay, so cannot read property of undefined regarding account name. Okay, so let's go and check. Okay, so here account name, and it should be on this line. Okay, this, right? So the transfer to, okay, transfer to account. Okay, so I don't think. Oh, okay, sorry. The to account should be the account number should be 2. Okay, great. So let's send again. Okay, so the transaction it's successful. Okay, great. So now let us do if we go to get transactions again, right? And get transactions and do check. Okay, so now you can see that we have received and transferred from here. Great. Okay, great. And here, I think our dashboard information also will have to change. Will change. So now you can see our balances has increased, and here also there is an expense now. Okay, so how do we also add transaction? Yeah, let's test that one also. Okay, so I'll change the token. Okay, go to the body, raw, and okay, so this is the description. Yeah, this is the source, and this is the amount. Yeah, okay, 1,000. Okay, great. So I'll also change the port number here, 5000, and I'm from account number 1, right? Account ID 1, and let's see. Great. So transaction also goes through, and here, let's get transaction and see if we get 6 here. Okay, great. So we have 6. Yes, great. It has been inserted successfully. Okay, great. So now we've been able to test all our endpoints. In our next section, we'll create our front end and add it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.